Hello, I'm Tony Parsons, and welcome to the Tony Parsons Show. As a news broadcaster and journalist for the past 50 years, I've reported on the major news events that have shaped our nation. I've interviewed prime ministers, premiers, thought leaders, and other people of distinction from around the world. My goal with this interview series is to help you, my audience, discover the person behind the credentials, while at the same time, I'll invite them to share their professional insights, experiences, and aspirations. Hello, my guest today is a Canadian media powerhouse.
Ooh.
She's known for her work as a TV host, reporter, travel writer, from co-hosting Urban Rush to covering red carpets for Entertainment Tonight Canada. She's built a career on authentic storytelling. Now, as a travel writer, content creator, she shares unique adventures while giving back through her philanthropic work. I'm pleased to welcome Erin Cebula to the show today. Erin, thanks for joining us. Long time no see.
I know. Wow, Tony, thank you so much. Powerhouse, I don't know about that, but you're the powerhouse.
Oh.
Long time no see. I think it was, I don't know. It could have been early 2000s, maybe the last time we.
I think so. And we were both at Global that time. And so it is great to see you again.
I'm still a little nervous, but I'm much less nervous than the time I walked into your office when I was basically right out of broadcasting school with my friend Johnny. And we tried to pitch you on a show idea. Like, where did that confidence come from? I don't know. But I still remember how gracious you were, but you were basically like, okay, kids, like, not a bad idea, but just go out there and like get some experience first and then come back and see me in like 10 years.
Because I had been through essentially the same thing as you two had. And I had ideas and I didn't know how to pitch them. And I just sort of eventually I said to myself, just go with the flow, go find what you can find, take what you can get and carry on from there. And that's how it happened, I guess, for both of us.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Well, you got to take your shot, right?
Absolutely. Your roots, Erin, are in this province. Let's discover a bit about your background before television and the media. You were born where?
I was born in Chilliwack, but my parents moved to Aldergrove pretty much. I was out and then we were in Aldergrove. So, that small little town between Langley and Abbotsford that people always forget about, that was my hometown.
And your parents had a hobby farm. What is a hobby farm?
Well, it's, that's what my parents always called it. I don't know if that's the technical term, but it's basically a farm that's, it's not a for-profit farm. We had a little over an acre, but we had chickens and ducks and geese and rabbits and dogs and cats. It was like a small animal kingdom, gardens and orchards. And so essentially I was a free-range kid, running around. Like bringing, baby goslings into my bed without my parents noticing. And when I got grounded, I had to weed the garden. We picked our apples and my baba, who lived with us, my grandmother, we'd make homemade apple juice. So, I had that sort of grounded small town farm kid upbringing.
Interesting. Did you have brothers and sisters working with you?
A younger brother, Derek, who was always trying to get out of all that work. Derek, running away, taking off on his skateboard while I had to do all the weeding.
That's a boy.
Totally.
Were there any early influences in your life, your family members, teachers, experiences that shaped your eventual life as a storyteller or your work in media? Did your parents encourage you? What did they say to you?
Absolutely. I had encouragement everywhere. It's one thing I will say. I mean, I love my family immensely. And we have a lot of stoke, the Cebulas, if you know what I mean. We get excited about things. We are all storytellers, and we learned from the best, which was my Nana, who could spin a yarn out of anything. And she made you feel, even if she was speaking to a group, which she was quite often, she had a lot of people around her kitchen table. She made you feel like she was only talking to you. Or she had that certain magic. And I was obsessed with her. She was my best friend. And I spent a lot of time at that table. My parents both worked when I was up until kindergarten. And so I was at my grandparents every day, just sitting at that table like, Nana. And my papa too is a great storyteller as well, but he doesn't know when to quit. He'll go for hours. My Nana somehow knew beginning, middle, and an end, right? She knew how to grab you just like a news story, how to get your attention, how to give you the information, and then how to wrap it up in a way that left you going, oh, that's how it's done. And my aunties are the same. My uncles are the same. My dad is the same. And then my mom, I think, always wanted to be a performer in some way. She, a very, very creative woman. And I think I was her little guinea pig, for lack of a better term. You know, she really pushed me because I was a little shy when I was young. I was adventurous, but I had a shy streak in me. And she would push me, talent competitions, you know, make me decorate my bike and ride in the parade through Aldergrove, like things that really meant I had a lot of eyes on me at a young age. And so I got used to it and I liked it. And I liked talking to people and meeting people. And I think it just went from there. Oh, and I was gifted a recorder at, I think I was 8 with a little microphone. Mm-hmm. And I started then. Like, I'd bring it to Christmas and annoy everybody. Like, do you like your presents? You know, that kind of thing. And, I must have been so irritating, but it got me started. And I realized that, you know, people want to be asked about themselves. You know, it makes them feel good, especially if you listen to their answers.
Did you think of actually becoming a broadcaster then when you were doing this with a little microphone? Was that what you aimed for?
Absolutely. I was watching BCTV with my parents. And, you know, I never thought I would be an anchor. That wasn't my goal, but I always thought I could see myself out there in the world, traveling, seeing the world. I was quite obsessed with travel from a young age and just meeting people from all walks of life and connecting with them. So I guess I kind of knew, you know, I deviated a little here and there. I tried acting, but realized that I was only really good at playing myself. And then I started taking, you know, broadcasting and television more seriously.
Your first step then was your education. So how did you do in school before you finally went to BCIT to take up broadcasting in that sense?
Good. I was a good student. I loved school. I was like a B+, A- kind of kid, you know. Did well, didn't love math, didn't love the sciences, but I could get the grades. Like, I knew that if I studied, I could make it happen. I really excelled at drama, surprise, surprise, and writing I enjoyed. But I loved school. I always wanted to go. I loved seeing my friends. And I played soccer. I was in drama club. I was one of those like really engaged kids. And I kind of, you know, I had this ability, and I think I still do, where I could, you know, I could hang out with the drama kids. I could hang out with the jock kids. I could even hang out with the smoke pit kids, you know? And, you know, I think that ability has really helped me. And yeah, and after I was also a pretty decent soccer player, and I was given a bursary in my grade 12 year to play soccer at University College of the Fraser Valley. So I did enroll there. I went there for a couple years. Didn't end up playing soccer. You know, I actually got a little hazed when I tried to join, and I didn't know how to deal with it back then. So I didn't play, which is a little bit of a regret, but I still went to school, and I did media communications. And then I realized I didn't really like writing papers, and I wanted to actually have some tangible skills. So I enrolled in BCIT in the technical program, which is really funny because I had zero technical experience, like none. And I think I had maybe like done a little video editing from VCR to VCR. Do you remember that? I think that's all I had ever done. I still can't believe I got in. So I learned how to produce, how to edit, how to shoot. You know, I had to carry that Betacam around, and that was amazing. Editing ended up being my forte, and that's what actually got me into the business. I started editing a cooking show called The Urban Peasant. I don't know if you remember James Barber from back in the day.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that got my foot in the door. And I had some incredible mentors along that way. And quite a few people always saying to me, "Are you sure you want to be stuck in an edit suite? You know, you're pretty good out there with people. Like, maybe, you know, you should try both." And yeah, and that just, you know, a couple happy accidents led to all of a sudden my mug on the TV.
Yeah, I went to a similar course at Ryerson Institute in Toronto when I was starting up. The one thing I remember is I learned how to type. And that's all I remember. I don't think that was my grounding in that, but it worked out.
Skill, especially these.
Yeah. Well, I can't type on my iPad. I don't know about you, but it's a whole different thing.
Well, now you can just talk to it, Tony, so you don't have to.
Yeah, I know. That's true. Yeah, I should try that. Your career began with Global BC. You were in arts and entertainment reporting. How did you land that first role? What was it like stepping into the world of television for the first time?
Pretty terrifying because I'd always been behind the scenes. And it was actually, I still don't know exactly how I got into that audition room, but I'll take you back a little bit. I was working for a production company, a local one, and I wrote a script for an international language school. So I was doing some script writing. And it was a hosted piece that required somebody to be on camera, like interacting with a virtual environment and being kind of loose and fun. And the day of the shoot, the person they hired just couldn't quite nail it. And so the producer asked me if I would just step in, and because I knew the script, and I was like, I'm not really, I was not camera ready. Let's just say I had to race home actually and shower and like make myself presentable. But I came back and I nailed it. I was like, oh, I think I can do this. And somehow that was seen or shared or something. And all of a sudden I was at, it was still BCTV at the time. And that was 1999. And I was brought in and I was sitting in the green room, about to go into the studio. Woo. And I believe I had to read off a teleprompter, which I don't think maybe I had done a couple times at BCIT, but I certainly was not in any way a pro. And in I went, and I was me, and I was like talking with my hands and, being a little bit, definitely not a polished broadcaster by any means, but something seemed to, strike a chord. And my incredible mentor, Robin Rudolph, was really, I think, behind, giving me a shot. She saw that I was sort of different. And, for arts and entertainment and community reporting, BCTV, soon to be global, was looking for that. And I think I just got really lucky.
Well, you did, but you went on to Urban Rush. You did a show on HGTV called Makeover Wish. What were the most rewarding aspects of doing those shows?
Okay, well, all those shows have a different aspect. It was tough for me to take Urban Rush because that meant I had to leave Global, and I had been given so many opportunities there. But luckily, I sort of, I kept the door open and I didn't burn any bridges. And I said, I'm going to go do this talk show. If I fail miserably, would you consider taking me back? And so, it was nice to know that there was maybe some opportunities for me if that didn't work out. And that was television boot camp. It was Monday to Friday, 1 hour of live television with up to 5 guests a day. I had a co-host, so it wasn't all me, but it was trial by fire. It was like, here you go. You're interviewing, David Suzuki, and then you're interviewing a rock band, and then you're interviewing, a chef, and that's all happening within, 1 hour, and it's live. So that gave me the courage to just put myself out there. That would be my biggest takeaway. After I stopped throwing up every morning, because that's what I would do when I started. And HGTV was rewarding in so many ways because it was a show about giving back. And I never realized when I started television that you could do work that was actually helping the community and positive. And that's what I wanted. And so we would reward someone who was nominated by friends and family in their community who just needed a hand. And so we would, come in, kick them out of their house and basically renovate their home for them and add, maybe a wheelchair ramp for their child or just a new kitchen that was, accessible, whatever the case may be. And it was so, it was feel good. It was real. There was, it was before all the reality shows became so nasty. It was genuine and sweet. And And I loved that. And I got to work with a crew of 25 people, and we'd roll into Hope and just take over that town and just work together on a project. And in 4 days, we would, renovate a house and essentially change people's lives.
It was a great experience.
Yeah, very much so.
You were sorry, I bet, when it ended.
Oh, I couldn't believe it, Tony. I'm still upset because I was like, why are we not doing, regardless of me, why are we not doing more shows like this? But around the time it wasn't renewed, we had 2 seasons. It was the time of the beginning of the Kardashian housewives, no offense to those people, but it was that era was coming in, and there just seemed to be an appetite for gossip and drama, and I think our show was just too pure.
So from those shows, you went on to be a reporter for Entertainment Tonight Canada, and you covered some of the world's most glamorous events, the Oscars, the Junos. What was it like being behind the scenes at those really high-profile occasions?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, not as glamorous as you would think. Tony, you know what I'm talking about. It's a lot of that is smoke and mirrors. It's all designed for the audience. It doesn't mean it's not cool. I mean, that first Oscars red carpet, I couldn't believe it. And you're seeing the biggest names, the biggest faces, these movie stars. But being on a red carpet, you're squished in with a bunch of people. Cameras are, got to watch your head so you don't get bonked by a battery. You're standing in my case, high heels. I'm uncomfortable because I'm not a high heel person. I'm like a sneaker girl. So yeah. So, there was that part that was quite challenging. But there's an energy to being at an event like that because you only have one shot. It's live television for the most part. We sometimes shot live, sometimes it was prepackaged, but you certainly only have one shot with Brad Pitt if he's walking by. You're not going to get a redo. It needs to happen, and you need to be on. You need to be charming and clever and fast and know who everybody is and what their movies are or what their television shows are. So it requires a lot of cramming of a lot of useless information that will quickly be purged for new pop culture information, So I know there were a lot of great parts of it. Was it my favorite thing to do on the show? No. My favorite pieces were when I got to travel and explore new places. And, whether it's, we did a lot of tourism based stories too. So, we would go to Hawaii and do, there was usually a celebrity tie-in, but a lot of times I just got a chance to explore places and connect with people from that place. And that's what I always loved the most. Survivor was a particular highlight for me because I was able to cover that extensively. And I was the first female on-air broadcaster to be there to do a network show from there, a network special for Global. And I got to do a challenge. I got to eat a scorpion. I did some crazy things. Yeah. And I absolutely loved it. It was terrifying and it was challenging in the most challenging thing I've ever done. And I did it 3 times. And, but I was a better person for it.
Did you actually enjoy the scorpion?
Absolutely not. But I was racing against my producer. And so I had to beat him because I'm competitive that way. And when Jeff Probst is yelling in your ear, basically heckling you while you're doing it, you are not going to quit. You are going to give it your all, which is what I did. But no, I will never eat a scorpion again, Tony. Never again. Unless someone pays me to, I guess.
Possibly. I know you were nominated for a Leo. You must have been proud of that.
I was, yeah. I think, I was nominated for Urban Rush for our second year on the air, and then I was nominated for Makeover Wish, and it was, going to an award show that. It's funny that I ended up actually covering award shows later on, but going to one where you see all your local peers, the shows that were made here, and just looking around the room and saying, "Oh, I am at a table, and there's real stars, or just sitting right over there, and I'm in the same category." it was really fun. Those were early days where everything is new. And I never took any of it for granted. I just was always grateful. I'm like, I'm just happy to be here. I'm just happy to be working. I'm just happy to be having a good time because like my job is basically to have a good time.
I want to talk about your connection to another successful Canadian entertainer and someone I have a personal connection to, very slight, not like yours. I'm talking about Michael Bublé.
Oh,
How did you guys connect? And you became friends.
Yeah, we did. We are friends. He's like a really big deal now, so it's not like we hang out. But we did, and we had a lot of great times together. He actually, maybe I don't know if he knows this or if I've ever told him, but he kind of saved me a couple times where I just was starting to feel that the interviews I was doing were just, it was just the newest thing, and we were just, I was regurgitating the same sort of interviews, with the same like new stars of a new show that weren't really sticking around, and the stories were getting smaller and smaller on ET. Like when I started as a features reporter, and our stories could be over 2 minutes sometimes, and I could actually connect with someone and I could share a real story, and then it just became how it's been and how it's changed. So it's just these bites, and I just wasn't feeling satisfied by it. And Bublé would always be that like ray of sunshine and light for me because we would sit down and we would have a real conversation. And because he was, such a, Canadian icon, they would let our stories breathe. And so our repertoire and our connection was, can you hear that? My dog is at her bowl right now, licking, just having a little drink.
Is it Pickles? Pickles?
It's Pickles, yeah, Pickles.
Yes.
I'd show you, but I'll mess up the shot. Pickles, why now? Why now, Pickles? We can just wait until she finishes. She's suddenly very thirsty.
Sure.
Pickles. Okay. Do you want to come say hi? There she is.
Hello,
She's
Pickles.
Cruising. She's on the move. But yeah, Michael, he taught me how to banter. Like, I would always I was very prepared. I still am. I over-research, I over-analyze. He sort of taught me, actually him and Jan Artem, but Michael in particular, basically be like, throw that card away, Cebula. Like, let's just have a chat. And it always ended up being fun, and it just gave me energy. And it just made me feel like, this is what it's about. Like, it's not necessarily about hitting all these facts or showing the audience what you know about the subject. It's about connecting. And, he gave that to me. And there's one story, I don't know, I'm talking a lot, Tony, you can cut me off anytime, but,
that's why we're here, to listen to you talk.
One time in particular, which I will go down as, it's just one of the best times, was he was shooting a video for I Just Haven't Met You Yet at the Killarney Market here in town. And we were doing our interviews. And by then, we'd probably sat across from each other 10 times. And I used to go to Babalu's where I used to play back in the day. So we knew each other even back from like our party days. And anyways, we were sitting there and I did all the basic interview stuff, like the new album, the new song, blah, blah, blah. And then I said, but what about me, Michael? I've been interviewing you. I promote your albums, I promote your videos, I promote your concerts. Like, what have you ever done for me? And I was just joking around with him because he was just fun to banter with. And he's like, well, what do you want? I was like, I don't know. And he's like, well, why don't I put you in my video? And this was like mid-year rolling on it. And I, of course, once again, I'm like, first of all, are you for real? And he looked pretty serious. And I said, like, put me in, coach. And all of a sudden I'm off with the choreographer, learning a couple steps, which they ended up asking me not to do because I was so bad. But I was doing that. And then all of a sudden I'm in the scene and I'm dancing in my blazer. And it was just the best. It made the story incredible for ET, but just gave me that experience. And, of all the things I've done, so many people ask me about that because there's a clip in the video where I have a close up, which was also Michael's doing. Because when I saw it, I'm like, seriously, a close up? He's like, yeah, like what a guy, what a gem, giving me that experience. Pretty cool.
Did you feel like Elaine on Seinfeld when you?
Did you hear? Yes. Have you heard me say that before?
No, I haven't. No.
Oh my gosh. Because that's how I'm basically dancing. Like, I never thought I was a bad dancer until I was put beside like professional dancers and asked to dance in a video. And I think also too, because I had the blazer on and I was next to a car that, yeah, I was kind of doing the Elaine in a weird way. And I mean, I have always related to her. So, it's not the worst thing in the world, but yes, I did. I did not feel cool, but I was having the time of my life. It's funny that you brought that up.
That's funny. You transitioned from TV eventually, in a way. You took up travel writing and content creating.
Yeah.
What inspired that shift from one thing to another?
Well, I got fired.
Oh.
Well, I got the golden handshake, as they say. My role in ET Canada, so that would, I guess, be 7 years now. They just decided they didn't need a West Coast correspondent anymore. And, budgets were shrinking. Things were changing in television. And, at the time, it was a little shocking because I always thought I was, I was always doing a great job. I always gave it my all. But in retrospect, it was the perfect time because I still had the energy. I still had the desire to be out there and having fun and learning. So I took some time off first and foremost because I was really burnt out. That the schedule I had it with ET, and I still worked at Global BC at the same time. I would be on a plane to LA to do something, and then I would still have to be on the morning show, the next day. So my alarm would go at 4 a.m. And I did this for years. And, I'm an energetic person, but I really started to notice my health deteriorate, my relationships, I would say suffered a little bit. My husband really had to hold down the fort for about 10 years. And I just wasn't home. And so it was actually the perfect time to just regroup. I didn't want to get out of television altogether, but I knew I didn't want to go back onto the hamster wheel. I wanted to do just try different things. So I still had some work with BC Children's Hospital Lottery. I still had some on-air campaigns that kept me, out there and visible. But my passion is travel. So I thought, well, I'm going to start writing about my travels. And I connected with a magazine called Drift. And so I was able to do some traveling and some writing. And I've always loved to write. And I knew I needed to do it more. And I started just putting myself out there as a voiceover artist. I really just wanted to see what else was out there. And then in terms of content creation, I was a little late to the game with social media. I was just so busy doing real TV that I was like, why do I have to also do this thing on this phone? Like, I didn't love it because I thought it also took me out of the moment of doing interviews and writing stories. So once I realized, I'm like, okay, this is the future, I better get on board. I just started putting more effort into my social, platforms, learning how to tell stories that way, doing some collaborations and some gigs through that, that medium. And it was fun. And then my husband and I have owned a real estate brokerage now Sean's been at it. I think he's 20 years now.
Blue Realty?
Yeah, Blue Realty. Yeah, that's us. And I was always involved in terms of, like a sounding board, but I was never around. And I thought after ET Canada ended, I'm like, well, I've worked for a big company now. I know what that feels like. And it doesn't always feel amazing. I'm like, I'm going to put my energy and effort and creativity and all my stoke into something that matters to me, which is my family and my husband's business, our business. And so I started doing our videos and producing there and helping realtors with their on-air presentation, and which I, had quite a bit of experience with, or have quite a bit of experience with, and was able to just, put energy in towards something that, I know I'm getting back from. And so, yeah, I mean, Tony, I am such a dabbler. I always have been. When I started working at BCTV Global, I was a snowboard instructor. I'm always doing something. I'm always exploring. I always want to learn. I always want to switch it up. I don't want to be stagnant, and I don't want to be limited by like a niche. People used to tell me early in my career, like, you've got to choose. Are you going to be a this? Are you going to be that? I'm like, well, I don't really want to, so I'm not gonna.
Just speaking of your husband, Sean, You guys got married in the Maldives. How did that happen? Were you just traveling, or what was that about?
Tony, look at you knowing some really cool things. Okay, yes, we did get married in the Maldives a long time ago in 2004. Actually, we just celebrated last year
Mm.
our 20th wedding anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, the Maldives is funny because back then, like nobody really knew where that was, like including us. Like when we
Mhm.
picked it, we're like, look at this place in the middle of the Indian Ocean. Like, wow, who goes here? Like, what is this about? And also, we wanted to elope and we didn't want anyone to follow us. So we thought if we go really far away for us was very expensive. Like, if I look back, I'm like, it was out of our reach, but we're like, you know what? Let's just do it. You only get married once, hopefully. And so we chose the Maldives, which is one of the most beautiful places on earth. And we eloped. We showed up at the resort. We said we'd like to get married. They said, how about Thursday? And that was it, barefoot on the beach. I jumped into the water we both jumped into the water after we got married. I was wearing my mom's wedding dress from 1974. It was easy and all about us, which is, the main reason we wanted to go so far away, but also to have an exotic experience, not go to a place where everybody else has been.
I want to congratulate you because you are big into philanthropy. How did all that happen? How did you graduate into that?
Yeah. Well, I think I've always been someone who likes to help, I didn't know what that was called when I was younger, but I am that person. I'm like, what do you need? How can I help you? And, when I realized that I had more time, I brought my sort of baseline stress down. I wasn't on the hamster wheel. I'm like, okay, I can do other things now. And when you give back, you feel amazing. Everybody wins, right? So I started doing more live posting, so emceeing of events, and for ones that I were a nonprofit and that I believed in and had a nice personal connection with, I would volunteer. Not all of those jobs are volunteer, but I looked for good projects, good people, and that's where I just started putting more energy. And BC Children's Hospital, I've had that job for, I think next year will be 19 years maybe.
Good
And
for you.
it is not a volunteer position, let's be honest, but it does raise, I think since I've been on board, we've raised something like close to $50 million for Children's Hospital. So,
Very good.
to have a TV job where you get to use your training but still get back is something I just always have in the back of my mind when I'm looking at jobs or collaborations or connections. Just like, how can there be a positive, philanthropic, give back element to this? Because I think you can find that in things, or you can make that happen.
You were asked at one time what you would, one thing you would like to do before your career ended, or when your career ended, is open up what you called pardon my French, a kick-ass house for people where you would host people. What is that going to happen?
Tony, where did you get this? Did you crawl into my head?
I did.
I don't know if I. Anyways, this is awesome. So yes, this has been a long time dream of husband and I. We have a name picked out. Yes, we are. Both of us are natural hosts. We love to have people over. We love to create great environments for people to connect, relax. And our inspiration basically came from all those years of me being away. And I would come home and Sean, bless his heart, would, be like, okay, let's go do something. Let's do something to reconnect. Right. And sometimes it actually meant leaving here because, sometimes when you're surrounded by home, you're like, you get caught up in boring stuff like doing the dishes and who takes out the trash and all those things. So we would go to places and we would seek out places that were just geared towards reconnection. And so we've always thought that that's something we'd like to create, whether it's an inn or a retreat, or maybe it's just a home rental. That is something that is on the dream board, as they say, and it's something I'd love to do in the future. It's just it got so expensive here. We looked at doing that on Bowen Island like 10 years ago. And, maybe we could have done it back then, but it's something you really need to commit to. And you have to be willing to sacrifice other parts of your job and your life in order to focus. So I just think we're not quite there, but the dream is alive. I think the dream would probably have to take place in a more affordable country. I hate to say it, but.
That wouldn't be the Maldives.
Oh, wow. I don't know. That would be that. I mean, anything is possible, Tony. I don't know. But the only problem with that is I'm a real family and friends person. I mean, I'm fueled by my people. I couldn't live that far away. I'd have to be one easy flight away from my people in order to maintain my sanity.
All right. What's the one thing in your life that you wanted to do, never achieved? Do you have that kind of regret?
I don't. I really did what I set out to do, which I think is kind of amazing. And, when I lost the job at ET Canada, I was really bummed out. And my husband would remind me repeatedly, and my friends too, like, you set your sights on doing a national entertainment show, a show on HGTV, like all these things, and you did them. So why are you bummed out? Right? Like you did them. Right. And you don't want to keep doing the same thing forever. Like, especially if you call yourself a variety junkie, which I do, like, I never really thought about it that way. The talk show, everything that happened, was really like, I manifested a lot of those things, so no regrets that way. I would have loved to have finished my degree. That's something but that doesn't, I can do that. I could do that now. But no, I really, really love the path I took. Even the times, and when you get let go, and that happened with Urban Rush too. I wasn't invited back after a couple seasons. Those things are put in the newspaper, and everybody knows your business, and that you have to work through major ego stuff. There's a lot of learning that comes with those, and in the time, they feel like the end of the world. But then you look back, you're like, oh, now I know I'm more than just that TV woman. I got a lot of other things going on, right? And I think the fact that I've been able to keep that, remind myself of that it's a job and it's fantastic and it's a part of who I am, but I'm not just that, right? So.
Listen, Erin, it's been a pleasure to talk to you.
You too, Tony.
And I hope for you get your kick-ass guest house, wherever it happens to be. Let us know, because we probably want to come and visit.
Absolutely. And, you will be one of my first invitations sent out, Tony.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you again. The rest of your career, enjoy. We'll be watching.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.
You've been listening to Season 2 of The Tony Parsons Show, recorded and produced by Mike Peterson at 85 Audio in Kelowna, British Columbia. To learn more about today's guest, check out the show notes or visit us at thetonyparsonsshow.com. If you'd like to reach Tony directly, he's just an email away at info@thetonyparsonsshow.com. If you're enjoying the podcast, the best way to support us is with a quick rating or review on your favorite streaming platform. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week for a conversation with Ray Ferrero.